My question is this. So as you know, Shavuot is coming up. I want to ask the rabbi of the shul that I go to why we eat dairy products on Shavuot, and needless to say, like I got a really silly answer, like mystical, obviously, but then I asked another rabbi, and he said, actually, the halacha states that you're technically supposed to eat meat on the Yom Tov.
Right.
And he said that actually the Yemenites still hold on to like the true halacha. I just want to know your opinion on that.
I don't think it's an actual halacha if you don't find joy in it. It says, Ein simcha ela basar v'yayin. There's no joy without meat and wine. But if you don't find it joyful, then it doesn't apply. But it's true. This whole notion of dairy on Shavuos, the explanation, what you probably heard, is that milk is like the Torah, baby's milk, and Israel accepted the Torah and Ruth. And this is why that we read Ruth, because Ruth was a convert and she accepted the Torah. Was it something like that?
Pretty much. It was actually a little bit more sillier than that, but yeah, along those lines.
Look, even Rav Kook was a vegetarian, but on Shabbos he would force himself to eat a little bit of meat. I think a little piece of chicken. I guess he wasn't fully convinced it wasn't completely optional. But I would say there's many rabbis who say that it's mandatory. And that's how I would read it. But I've heard other people explain it differently, that if you find meat repulsive, then it does you no good to eat meat and drink wine on that day. The goal is to experience the day besimcha. Yeah, no, for sure. We're even learning all night. But the custom nowadays is that people stay up all night, and they, well, at least in Israel, where they learn all night and in the morning, where they have the famous Birkas Kohanim at the Kotel. I guess it's something that if you haven't experienced, you at least have to experience once. You see like all these Kohanim blessing the people, like hundreds of Kohanim. But the custom nowadays is to learn all night, which is kind of problematic. Like if you're not going to last through, because you're going to probably miss Shachris, or like not have Kavanah when you pray in the morning. Actually, the custom for learning all night is a Kabbalistic one. There's a practice called Tikkun Leil Shavuos. Tikkun, correction, Leil Shavuos of Shavuos night. And it's based on a medrash. There's a medrash that teaches that Israel overslept on the morning that they were going to receive the Torah, and they had to be wakened by a shofar. And it was actually the Arizal who created this custom of all-night learning. Rather than sleeping late, Jews wouldn't really sleep at all. And like basically everything the Arizal taught, he brought it from the Zohar. But he just made it popular. So know that when people are learning on Shavuos all night, it's not because they love learning or like for the goal of really learning anything, but as a tikkun, as a correction, as a fix towards a certain medrash that, at least how the Zohar brings down, teaches that we overslept. And there's a lot of things like that in the Jewish world that there's no real source for it, but it's based on a medrash. And really, we could talk a lot about that itself, from Kabbalah Shabbos to Ashes Hayel. But anyways.
Thank you, Rabbi.
So Yemenites have kept their customs better than most because they were so secluded from the Jewish world. So this is why when people try to find authenticity to what they believe in Judaism, they typically look at the Yemenites and their pronunciation of Temanit, which is like Judeo-Arabic, with the way they dress. Even their Torah scrolls. You ever seen their Torah? A Yemenite Torah scroll, it's not cloth. It's something called javil or jawil. This thick leather parchment. The parchment, the scroll, the cloth in Ashkenazi synagogue or Sephardi synagogue, like you could pretty much tear with your hand. You can't tear the Yemenite one. It's like you have to cut it because it's so thick. And it's like black and brown.